Sandy.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let her know, baby. Good evening, lady. Well, it's night time because it's 9 o'clock, and this is literally a pop-up. Excuse the fact that I wasn't able to warn everyone in advance that I was going to go live. I decided at the very last minute because I really haven't been motivated to come here and sit down and chat with you guys. There's just so much going on in my life and everybody's lives around me. For those of you that don't know, I'm Red Wine. I come on here every now and then to discuss sex and love and relationships and life and everything that pertains to it. Welcome to all of you to Red Wine Talking, and I appreciate all of you who come on here to support me and get me through life, basically. Hi Sandy, hi Dave, welcome guys, welcome. I am here to talk about a series that I saw recently on Netflix called Sex/Life, and I've been telling everyone about it because I thought it was very sexy. I thought the way it was done, it was very real, and I fell in love with the cast, with the actress, the main actress Shari. I fell in love with her hubby on the show, Cooper. I fell in love with her best friend Sarah. I fell in love with Brad, her ex that she keeps dreaming about. And I realize I'm talking low, so I'm gonna shout a little bit. Maybe I need to get a mic for my future shows. But I wanted to jump on here to talk about that. The show, oh, let me take off my phone. I'm sorry, that loud noise. I made some notes because, you know, I can't remember any and everything. So I made some notes. The show is about monogamy and sex and life and your exes and passion and what is realistic and what isn't. And it hit home for me because I've spoken to many different people on this topic, and I myself have struggled with this topic with my husband. So we have been married for almost for umpteen years. Let's not put a number on it, for umpteen years. And we've had our fair share of ups and downs like every other couple. I'm sorry, any couple that tells me that they've never had any issues in their marriage, I don't believe you for 1 minute. But I think every marriage has had some type of issue. And I think some of the issues are different. Some of the issues are very much varying. So I saw where they talked about, on the show that was about this woman who just got married. She has young children, and she did a psychology degree, never finished her PhD, never finished and follow up with her PhD, but she did a psychology degree. And I think this helped her to assess her situation in life, being married to the perfect man and wondering if monogamy is something that she can actually go through with. I mean, head over heels in love with her hubby she was, and would give anything for him, to the point where she said she wanted to die at the same moment with him, which is exactly how I feel about my hubby, and how I guess a lot of wives feel about their hubby. I want to die at the same moment with him, and I want to find him in the next life so we can fall in love again and live our lives together again. So I totally related with that aspect of the series. But she went on to say that she was missing so much passion in her marriage, and she was missing so much of that freeness that she had before she got married, and that her hubby was basically so nonchalant about her and their relationship that she felt like it was becoming like a humdrum, which is what I think a lot of women and possibly men go through in their relationships, in their long-term relationships. So she pointed out very interesting facts that stated some of the notes that I made. She referred to a Professor Sumner, which I'm sure was probably made up in the show, or probably they used something that they have found research on. And she talked about the great debates in modern psychology is the efficacy of traditional monogamy. And that hit home for me. I've always wanted to have conversations and arguments about this traditional monogamy thing, and whether or not it was something that is attainable. So she described, referring to Professor Sumner, that traditional monogamy is optimistic. I'm an optimistic person. Unrealistic. I tend to be very real, and that traditional monogamy was frankly difficult to maintain. And I believe that because of all the marriages and the relationships that we see, that we hear about so much infidelity, so much cheating. We hear so much about that, about the relationships today and about marriages today. So I felt like if optimistic, unrealistic, and frankly difficult to maintain were three very good ways of describing traditional monogamy. And then they talked about also, studies have been cited, only 3% of all mammals are socially monogamous, and sexual monogamy is unheard of in the animal kingdom. She summed up to say that we are not animals, and to assume a mere biological imperative is foolish and dangerous. And you know what? I kind of agree, I kind of not agree. You know, monogamy is difficult in today's terms. Traditional monogamy, the way how we are, I believe that it could very much be unattainable, simply because of what I've seen around me with other relationships and other marriages where there's so much infidelity about, you know. So who came up with this monogamy B crap? It worked in the past because women were not as stately, women were not as independent. So it worked in the past, but I think now with the independence that most women have, monogamy is not something that we consider realistic or attainable. So I could see where the issue is here. And it started off where she said that she used to feel so free and full of possibilities, and I get that. I totally get that. I want to say that in my marriage, I do feel fairly free, and I do feel fairly full of possibilities, and my husband allows me to feel that way. But I have thought that, you know what, he allows me to feel that way because that's what he wants as well. He wants to be free and he wants to be full of possibilities. So he knows that in order for him to feel that and want that, he should offer it to me. But wouldn't that get us all into trouble? Wouldn't that freedom that we want and we can get us into trouble, that wanting of all the possibilities? Because you're out there, you're being free, you're looking for the possibilities, and that could very much get you into trouble unless you and your partner decide that that's what you want. You want that open marriage, right? You want that openness where you are free and the possibilities do exist, where if you want to basically go with your attractions that you feel out there, then okay, fine. But I think it's dangerous. It's very dangerous, because what if I feel like if I meet someone that I want someone more than I want him, someone that I feel more attracted to, and what if he feels that he met someone that he wants or is attracted more than he is attracted to me, then what? Do we leave our marriage and move on to something else? So that's something that you have to think about as well, if you're offering that freedom and the possibilities that you want. And that happens in relationships, I think, that have been going on for like umpteen years, as opposed to relationships that have just started. So, you know, you have to think about the realness in your relationship. You have to think realistic. You have to. So she was fantasizing about an ex-boyfriend, is what she was doing, that she had so much of the passion with. And she said that she was talking about the orgasms that she had with them. And she mentioned that people say you don't know when you're having orgasms, but she definitely knew that she was having them. And I have to say, which I think all of you guys who's always here on my show, you guys know that I'm one who I can recognize the orgasms that I'm having, that I'm always having. This is not guesswork. I cannot begin to say that I don't know when I'm having an orgasm, but I guess some people might not know, maybe because they're not in tune with their bodies. But I like that she said that people say you don't know when you're having them. Well, I do, and by all means I do, and I like that. I totally like that. So I remember her hubby in the show talking about the fact that she's insatiable, and she had an insatiable appetite. And I fell in love with that word, because I feel like if I could be insatiable at times, and I feel like if I can have an insatiable appetite at times, because I'm so passionate. My husband has accused me of being too passionate, so I know that I probably could be borderline insatiable, and I fell in love with that word, because I think I can relate to that word easily, because the kind of sex that I like to have and I want to have and I want to keep having is the kind of sex that basically blows my mind, that the sex that I'm thinking about all day the next day and for many days after, and feeling it between my legs, like Juliet. As you all know, I refer to her as Juliet, and Juliet is tingling when I think about Romeo, and when Romeo was actually between my legs, or even when I think about the kisses that I'm having, or the different types of foreplay that we have before actual penetration. So I do like that. I like being insatiable. I want to continue to be insatiable, because I want my hubby to continue wanting to please me on that level. I totally want that. And she was talking to her best friend that told her that she had to be choked. FYI, ladies and gentlemen, I have never been choked, and I do wonder about it, because I'm one for painful pleasure, and I think it's what the young people do today, that erotic asphyxiation. I totally feel like if maybe I want to try to experience it, but all of this has to be at the right moment, right? Because you don't want to die being choked just because you want that elusive orgasm that you've never had, right? You don't. So you have to be very careful with that. She talked about wanting that magical, interconnected love bubble rush, and that resonated with me, because that is what I love. I've talked to my husband about that. I'm sure a lot of women have wondered about that, and I liked all of those words, that magical, interconnected love bubble rush. That was such a high. I really like that, because that's something that insatiable women like me require and need to move on and continue on in our relationship. Yes, Jay, that love bubble rush. I love it. But then her girlfriend reminded her, right? Sasha reminded Billy in the show that, that relationship that she had with her ex was a fickle bitch, and that it hurts, and that it betrays, and that it's ultimately unsustainable. And you know what? I had a relationship like that, and you know what? It is probably unsustainable. I don't know, because I didn't try to sustain it. So I don't know, but I can see, looking at it from an objective point of view, why it probably is ultimately unsustainable, right? And she went on to say that marriage will go the distance because you're committed. Remember, marriage is a commitment, so you make that commitment to pull through everything that you experience, the ups and downs. And she talked about love being a drug, which it so is. We all know that love is a drug. Dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline, and it's like an elusive high. She talked about that with a relationship, past relationships that were really hot and passionate, being an elusive high. So she went on to talk about being married to her Cooper, and Cooper was the perfect guy. Came home to his family. He came home to his family and he addressed the kids. He never addressed her, his wife. She thought when he said, "Oh, look at my beautiful girl," that she thought her hubby was coming to her to hug her up, but he was talking about their daughter. He totally passed her by and went and picked up her daughter. Guys, you gotta watch this show. It's so real. A friend of mine told me, you know what, it's not so real because of how early she experienced that in her marriage, because the kids were so young, and she should have been more into her kids and thinking about the passionate sex that she's not having with her husband anymore, and thinking about her ex. And he felt like, my friend told me, he felt like it was too early in the marriage to feel that. But honestly, for women that have a high sexual appetite like myself, you're gonna feel that in the very earlies. You're gonna feel that from the time you stop getting it. Whether it's the early of your marriage, whether it's the lateness of your marriage, whether it's the middle of your marriage, if you have that insatiable appetite when it comes to sex, you are going to feel that once you're not getting it, no matter what part of your marriage it is. Some women are not insatiable. Some women are not highly sexual. Some people don't crave that type of sex like how I do or other women do. So it's okay. It's fine. But remember, we are all different. We are all different. So you really don't know. You do not know what you're going to experience when you get yourself in these situations. I want to advise each and every one of you, before you actually settle down into a marriage, think about it. Think about your partner. Think about yourself and what is it that you want and you need. If you have that insatiable appetite and you really love sex and you crave that passion, you have to make sure that you have that with your hubby, because you may very well end up going outside for it if you do not have it with your husband. In this series on Netflix, Sex Life, guys, check it out. I should be an advocate for it. They should probably pay me for promoting it, but I really loved it. But in this series, she talked about monogamy. She talked about whether or not your actual partner that provides for you, that is the father for your children, that gives you that stability, can actually give you that passion in bed as well, and whether or not it was realistic to expect all in one. She went to a psychologist about that, and the psychologist didn't really help her much, because she was thinking of going back to the ex because she wanted that passion that they had, even though she really wanted the marriage that she had with the stability and everything. And her hobby was hot. It's not like if she didn't have a hot hobby. It was just the passion in the marriage that was lacking, that she had, and she had experienced. Now, sometimes you don't even experience that. So you don't even know what you're missing, and that's fine. That's fine. But what if during your marriage you actually separate, or you go through something that you're no longer with your husband and you experience that, or you listen to a song, or you share stories with your girlfriend who's going through that, and you realize, wow, I'm missing out on a sexual level that I never experienced, then that is going to bring problems in your marriage. It is, if you're not being satisfied. So my advice to you again is, you know what, if you are a highly sexual woman or a man, this goes for both sexes, then you need to make sure that you have that in your long-term relationship, so that you're not wanting to go back to it, or that you're not wanting to seek it out, because that could be an issue. That could very well be an issue. Am I going to continue to talk about sex in my shows? Yes, I am. But FYI to all my viewers, I am going to bring in love. I'm going to bring in relationships. I'm going to bring in relationships with your significant others, relationships with your exes, relationships with everybody, because life is about relationships. Life is about relations. And I want to help you guys. I want to inspire and motivate everyone through all of the lessons that I have learned, that may work for you, that may not work for you. I just want to share my experiences and experiences of my loved ones that have shared with me, so that we can learn from them, so that we can have better relationships with all of our loved ones. I haven't been on here. For those of you that are now joining, this is Red Wine Talking. Welcome. I am Red Wine. I haven't been on here for a while. I've been watching basketball. I've been dealing with COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago, where my mom is, where my brothers and sisters are. And I have been taking it on, even though I'm not there. I feel for everyone. I'm an empath. I know that I am. I can't help but feel what others are feeling for some reason. This week I wasn't sure I would make it on here. I have heard a lot of bad news. Just today I heard an acquaintance of mine. I can't even call them a friend. I know someone who was arrested. I know someone who lost his son this past week. I know someone who lost his daughter this past week. Young people, sudden deaths. I can't even begin to tell you how I can feel. I can feel some of what they're feeling, and it puts me in a very bad mood. It does. It makes me depressed for them, because I put myself in their shoes and I feel so sad, and I feel like I can't be my normal optimistic self, and it's hard, So I'm going through ins and outs with that. I just want to leave everyone and with messages of joy and messages of optimism. I honestly believe, like I've always said, everything one day at a time. When we try to think about how we're going to get through life, and we try to think too much of the future, we get overwhelmed. We worry, and they say that worrying is a waste of time, because we don't know what's truly going to happen in the future, and we need to leave it in God's hands. And I truly believe that we need to leave it in the universe's hands. We need to leave it up to our universe, and we need to trust the process. And I always preach that, just trust it. Trust the process. We go through a lot of things, and honestly, we feel like, oh my God, where is God? Where is this beautiful God that we're supposed to have, and why do we have to go through this? But it's all lessons to make us stronger. You know, things keep happening to us over and over again so that we learn the lesson. I truly believe that. So, you know, pay attention to everything that's happening around you. Pay attention. Everything that's happening that's so hurtful to you, think about it, and think about what is it that you're learning through it, and think about how you can use it to inspire and motivate others, because we are blessed to be blessings. I truly believe that. The blessings that have been bestowed upon us, we need to share it with our loved ones. We need to share the lessons that we have learned. We need to talk about our stories, because people can learn from them. We can be inspiring others without even knowing it. Relationships are hard, and if we can share with others what we have learned in our relationships, sexual or not, I believe it will help others. There are people that have approached me in the public eye to say that I have taught them so much so far on my shows, and you know what, I appreciate that love. I appreciate that appreciation, and that is what pushes me to come back on here to continue talking about what I have learned and what I have seen. So thank you for the love. Thank you for the appreciation. I want to say that if you have a good man in your life, treat him well. Treat him well. Feed him. Give him sex. Give him love. Give him your Juliet as much as he wants it, because that is what they love. Feed him. They love that. If you have a good man in your life, treat him well, and he will treat you well. You know, I truly believe that. And if you don't have a good man in your life just yet, I think it's because you need to prepare yourself. You need to continue doing work on yourself. No one is perfect. We all have demons. We talk about the toxicity that we experience from other people. We are all toxic in some way, you know. Search within and see where your toxicity lies and better yourself, you know. Help yourself evolve into that better person. Help yourself grow into that person. You know, evolving is imperative to us being our utmost selves. So I love you guys. I want to say thank you so much for joining me. Just remember, love is the key, as hard as it can be. If you can't love others when they're right up in front of you and you need to love them from afar, pray for them. Pray for them. That's what I do, because not everybody here can love up close and personal. So, I mean, we're all different, and sometimes our demons, they clash with other demons. We're not perfect. We are so not perfect. So, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much, all of you, Ronnie. Thank you so much. I can only see some of you. I love you guys. I'm glad I came on. I needed to come on. You guys, really, you helped me going, and I want to say that, you know, I love you for that. Thank you so very much. And please take very care of yourselves. Take very good care of yourselves. Please do the research. See what you have to do to make yourselves better. Pay attention to the messages that are being thrown your way. Pay attention. I love you. Happy birthday, Sandy Johnson Batson. Happy birthday to all you Cancer people, because I love you, Cancer people. Thank you so much. Take care. Group hug.